say this weekend for the Lions was a disappointment is a massive understatement. Just, what the hell was that game? Just absolutely disappointing. Even though the Lions disappointed this week, at least there were positives from the Pistons and the Red Wings, as the Red Wings had a successful road trip out west. And the Pistons had another solid week as the NBA season hits its early infancy stages of 2025-2026. But anyway, let's take a look at how Detroit sports fared this week.
Detroit basketball!
Starting off, we have the Pistons this week. And well, the Pistons, we got off to a rough start with the loss to Cleveland, getting blown out by the Cavs. Which I think that's expected, because the Pistons, even despite all the, everything they've done the last couple of years to get to where they are, they still got a long ways to go, especially to be at the top of the division. Since we all know Cleveland's going to still be the team to beat in the division, but yeah, even despite that, Pistons still got a lot of room to improve on. And it's really Cleveland's the true measuring stick, because that's a team the Pistons got to deal with 4 times a year. And potentially, if the Pistons want to make it to the NBA Finals, Cleveland's a team they're going to have to deal with in the playoffs. In one of the rounds. If they're top 6 and don't get subjected to that stupid fucking play-in tournament. But even after that loss, the Pistons, and that was also Cade's first bad game of the year. Well, really, everybody struggled offensively. That was also, the game against Cleveland was Cade's first game without 30 points. Which it happens, you're going to have games where you don't score 30 points a game. But of course, the Pistons took a page out of Lions' playbook where every time they get punched in the mouth, they bounce right back. And the Pistons did exactly that, as after that loss to Cleveland, they bounced back with a big win against Orlando off the back of Cade Cunningham's 30-point double-double. Don't worry, the triple-doubles will come. You just gotta be patient, we need time. You need to give Cade some time to cook. And of course, then we have the big game last Saturday against Dallas in Mexico. In one of the rare times where Detroit actually gets to go international to Mexico. The Pistons go to Mexico City. And the Pistons actually had a strong showing out in Mexico, beating the Mavericks. As, of course, Cade Cunningham had a 21-point double-double. But the real star of the show in Mexico was Jalen Duren with his 33-point performance. So, even though Cade was the star, Jalen Duren steals the show in Mexico. As honestly, thank God they won in Mexico. It would have been embarrassing if the Pistons had another bad performance in an international game. It's honestly good to win an international game every once in a while and expand your brand to a new audience in a different country. Even though the Pistons do play in Canada at least once a year with Toronto, but that's a different topic. Since, the last time the Pistons had an international game, it was that game against Chicago in Paris a couple years ago where they were completely embarrassing. That was a couple years ago during Dwayne Casey's last season with the Pistons head coach. But yeah, solid run for the Pistons early. As early in the year, they sit at 4-2 and 4th in the Eastern Conference. And of course, with the way the Pistons' schedule is shaped up, the Pistons have a pretty easy November schedule. So if the Pistons keep playing up to their potential, they could potentially run the table in November and get themselves a pretty good gap ahead of 7th to stay top 6 for the potentially the playoffs early in the year. But just remember, like hockey, the NBA season is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And we're just barely getting started. But a solid start so far for the Pistons to keep building up back up where they left off last year. Now to the Red Wings. And well, the Wings, all their games this week were on the road. And of course, we all know last week the Wings struggled a lot on the road last week. But of course, the question was, could the Wings fix their early road woes early in the season? And well, the answer is, yeah, they did. As the Wings had a 4-game road trip out west. It was mainly 3 games because St. Louis got thrown in on the way there. And the Wings had a pretty dominant win against the Blues, dominating them 5-2. So that was a really good game out of there. As Larkin and DeBrincat showing their strengths early. So yeah, that was good to see there. And then, of course, we got the first real road trip, which is the West Coast swing out in California against the California teams. As it started out with the Los Angeles, the LA Kings. And the Waynes shockingly got the win in LA. A very tough game that went to a shootout, and the Waynes got it done in the shootout. And then the next stop would be Anaheim against the Ducks. And the Ducks was a big game because that's John Gibson's first game back in Anaheim since the Ducks traded him to Detroit back during the draft. So yeah, and well, that game was probably the one bad mark of this road trip, was getting completely dominated by the Ducks. Like, the Waynes even start the game off pretty strong, but the turning point was early in the game when Detroit looked like they had a goal until that bounced off Moritz Seider's skate, until the refs disallowed it because of a kicking motion. I'll be honest, I didn't really see much of a kicking motion. It's kind of borderline, but I didn't see much of a motion. No, yeah, who would have thought moments after that Anaheim would score? Yeah, who could? Yeah, usually calls like that come back to haunt you. But yeah, honestly, Anaheim wanted revenge on Gibson, and they got the revenge. But Detroit, of course, bounced back in a very tough game against San Jose. Honestly, I don't know why the hell the Waynes struggle against San Jose. Like, it's the fucking Sharks. They're garbage. The Sharks are a team that's embracing the suck and tanking for the damn first draft lottery, hoping to God they can go get Gavin McKenna. But the Waynes were able to get it done, getting the win in a shootout against the Sharks, and getting in a pretty successful road trip for the Waynes. They go out and get 6 out of a possible 8 points in this road trip. So yeah, pretty solid overall. Got 3 road wins out of 4, especially with how the Waynes were last week on the road in Buffalo and Long Island. This is a good step in the right direction. Waynes still got a lot to improve on early in the year, but hey, the Waynes are starting the season off pretty strong. Now sitting at 9-4 on the year and 2nd in the Atlantic Division. So Waynes off to a strong start. Can they keep that momentum going? We'll find out later. But right now, the 100 Hockeytown 100 Centennial season is officially back on track in the right direction. Now to the Lions game against the Vikings, and man, just what the actual fuck was this game? Like, it was just honestly a pretty pathetic display on offense. Like, this offense was 100% the reason why the Lions lost this game. Even though the offense started off strong with a great opening drive, especially with Sam Laporta getting the big plays, and again a 40-yard touchdown to get Detroit on the board first. But of course, even though it's a strong start, you got to finish strong too. And the Lions did not finish strong. Mainly defensively, it was a defensive struggle, as they really couldn't stop anything, couldn't stop the run. As the Vikings were doing everything they could to make sure J.J. McCarthy was comfortable in his first game back from his ankle injury. It's pretty hard to defend or stop the pass when, you can't stop the run and the offense is two-dimensional. I mean, the only way you can really stop the pass is if it's one-dimensional and it becomes predictable. Lions couldn't do that. And I really struggled getting any pressure to McCarthy, as it seemed like McCarthy had all day to throw. I mean, anytime the Lions did get any pressure to McCarthy, they ended up getting penalized for it, which gets even more frustrating. Like seriously, Jack Campbell getting a clean tackle on J.J. McCarthy is now roughing the passer. For fuck's sakes, I fucking hate the goddamn roughing the passer rules. They're so fucking stupid. And while we're at it, let's throw in Hutchinson getting thrown into McCarthy by the Vikings O-lineman. Like, seriously, getting thrown into QB is now roughing the passer, too? Hutchinson wasn't even under his own goddamn power. Like, that's pretty fucking stupid. Like, NFL needs to get their shit together with this. But let's be honest, though. Even despite all that, the Lions played like ass, and they did not deserve to win this game. Like, honestly, bad penalties and very bad turnovers cost the Lions in this game. That and John Moran's predictable play calling. Like, honestly, the play calling was pretty dog shit against the Vikings. Like too many times the Lions were always ending up in 2nd and long, 3rd and long situations. I'll tell you right now, you're not going to have much success offensively if you're consistently in second and third down situations. And you want to know what doesn't help in that situation? Consistently doing screen passes on third and goddamn long. Oh yeah, you really fooled Brian Flores with that, god damn it. Also doesn't help when the run gets stopped and the offense becomes one-dimensional. And yeah, that really leads to John Moran's play going game pretty predictable. Like, it's pretty crazy. The Lions have been pretty successful in a lot of different downs, but this year their main offense's main Achilles heel has been third down. And if you're struggling on third down to get the job done, especially on third and long, you're not going to be in a close enough position for Dan Campbell to pull his big old balls out and go for it on fourth down. Like hell, even the one time when it looked like the Lions were finally going to get some momentum on a third and long, David Montgomery then fumbles the ball. So in the one time they were about to get a third and long conversion, and then they fumble it. Like, let's be honest, the Lions should have won this game against the Vikings. I mean, when you're 9-point favorites going in, when you're heavy 9-point favorites, you should win the game, no excuses. And the Lions, they did every conceivable thing to shoot themselves in the foot and hand this game to the Vikings. Like, the Lions flat out beat themselves against the Vikings. And you can't do that. You can't beat yourself against a team like the Vikings. We can't be losing to a team like that. It's unacceptable. Especially when you're coming off the bye week and you had effectively 2 weeks to prepare for the Vikings. And you go and come out like that. That's pretty fucking bad. A pretty disappointing game. Like, Lions should have won, but they shot themselves in the foot, found every way to lose, and they pretty much let the Vikings escape with the win out of Ford Field. And the Vikings finally beat the Lions for the first time since the Hawkinson trade. Which, I'll be honest, I knew the Lions were going to lose to the Vikings at some point in this win streak. Like, at some point, the Vikings were going to get one at some point, but Jesus, I did not think it would be this goddamn soon. Like, I didn't think the Vikings would beat the Lions until maybe the game on Christmas. But yeah, just a pretty disappointing game. Especially coming off the bye, like, what the hell did they really do to fix a lot of the things on the Lions during that bye week? Because they definitely sure as hell didn't fix John Moran's play calling on second and long and third and long. That's for damn sure. Especially when the run game isn't clicking and the offense becomes one-dimensional. But yeah, just a pretty disappointing game. You know, best advice I can give right now is just move on and focus on Washington next week. And trying to bounce back against Washington. You know, once again, Lions get punched in the mouth, but now they gotta go and bounce back against Washington. I mean, the only positive to come out of this game is, hey, at least the Lions didn't lose any ground in the north to the Packers since Green Bay choked to the Panthers. And yeah, the Lions weren't the most embarrassing choke this weekend. That belongs to Green Bay, who are 14-point favorites against the Panthers, and the Panthers choked. And the Panthers took advantage of the Packers choking. So at least there's one silver lining out this week. We didn't really get lose anything. But at the same time, though, a missed opportunity to potentially get the division lead back in the North. Like you can't be blowing opportunities like this to get the division lead. Because usually losing games like this, these type of games are what costs you not only a division title or the 1 seed or home field, it potentially costs you a playoff spot. Since right now it looks like all 4 NFC North teams are going to be in the mix for the playoffs this year, especially in that wild card. Like, the NFC North is going to be a bloodbath this year, since every team is within a game and a half now of the division lead. But yeah, Lions got to bounce back once again in Washington next week against the Commanders in a revenge game from the playoffs last year. But anyway, on to Washington next week. That's all I can say. On to Washington. I'm out.